No Suzuki, she just died on me. Yeah, it's nice. Morning all, how you doing? Welcome back to the ODBF garage. So it's a beautiful, windy, breezy, southern Utah day. My gosh, I tell you, if the wind wouldn't blow in southern Utah in the springtime, something's definitely wrong. Don't know what, but something is definitely wrong. Anyhow, we are actually back on the free four-wheelers. Dogs, they're running everywhere. Louie's chasing his ball. Frankie's a mountain goat. What do you do? Like I said, we're back on the free four-wheelers. Today, we're working on the old Polaris 300 two-smoker. And when we left off last time, it had some pretty major fuel delivery problems to the carburetor. I think I got that figured out. I'll walk you through what I did to fix that. But the biggest thing we're going to do today, we're going to install starter motor on this thing. The one on it I think is bad. It's pretty well buried, but we'll do a little bit of diagnosing on it before we get too deep into it. So let's get started, shall we? So this right here I believe to be the problem for our fuel delivery issue. This is the factory fuel valve that goes on the left hand side of the tank. And no matter what position I had this thing in, it wouldn't shut off completely and it wouldn't open up completely. It would run and then it would stop. It was really strange. Basically, it was just not feeding fuel to the carburetor bowl. What I did to remedy that, I just went to the local Napa auto parts store, got one of those quarter turn valve Briggs & Stratton small engine 5/16 plastic fuel valves. Hooked that sucker in line and man, she's flowing fuel like crazy now. So, you know, I mean, yeah, I could have bought a new one of these, but like I said before, I don't think this power plant's going to stay in this machine long term. So just for my curiosity, because I'm that guy that when a part fails, I want to know what failed in the part. I'm not that guy that just because is not an answer when you have a question. I want to know why. So I'm going to take my saw and I'm going to disassemble this thing because I want to know what failed internally on this valve. So let's totally destroy this thing and see what happened. I think I found the problem. So this is the end of the valve. Came in like so from the back side, and fuel would flow in from there. And then you would direct the fuel flow out of this hole as you turned basically that valve. And it would change direction from right here to come out of the reserve side versus the full side. And so what I found is down inside of here, right down inside of there, it's going to be hard to see, there's an O-ring on each one of these outlets basically, or inlets, sorry. And they have these little O-rings in there. Now, that's all fine and well. But this thing has sat for so long that O-ring right there is basically swollen up, dried up, I don't know. It's done something. And it's basically balled up inside of that hole right there. So as you would mess with it, it would let just a little bit of fuel in, and then you'd mess with it some more, and it would actually seal the line off. So, pretty sure that was our trouble. Take this, throw it in the bin, and move on, right? But now I know what failed on that valve. Now I can sleep tonight. Yeah, I'm weird that way. But, you know, now we both know. Thanks for your help. Real nice. Smoky. Anyways, now that I think this thing's gonna run like it's supposed to, let's get the starter changed on this thing. But change the starter on this thing, we've gotta lift her up in the air, because the starter, it's a great design. I mean, I don't know why they all don't do this, but the starter is buried up underneath, and you gotta disassemble the whole right-hand side of the engine, basically. So, yeah, it's real nice. Great design, Polaris. Keep it up. Let's see if we can get her changed out. First thing we gotta do, in order to change this starter, we gotta remove this footwell. And Louis is gonna help me. Aren't you, buddy? You're gonna help me, huh? He's pretty excited, can you tell? Pretty good boy, huh? Yep. Ta-da! Oh, look at all that nonsense, buddy. What the world? Chain drive, baby. Oh yeah. Isn't that something? It's something. Don't know what, but it's something. I think the drive system on these old four-wheelers is about the oddest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know, they're just like they're just weird. Check this out. So off the transmission, you got a chain running the rear axle, right? Then you got a jack shaft, comes over to a disc brake, which, you know, check out those brake pads. Yeah, maybe that's why the rear brakes don't work. I don't know, they're probably fine. And then you've got a drive chain, comes along here, goes into another jack shaft, into another sprocket that drives the front axle. You're gonna have like 100 feet of chain to make this thing work like it's supposed to. Let's count sprockets on this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got 6 drive sprockets on this thing. Man, you get one of those off, like one tooth, holy cow, could you imagine the gearing would be so far off, it would just be wild. But if you were smart enough to gear this thing exactly where you wanted it and do the math, that would be kind of cool. Like I said, this is gonna go on a different project. Maybe all this will come into play and be real nice for us. Time will tell, right? That jack right there, that's another tool I got from Bever. I don't use it a ton, but man, when I do, it's sure nice, and it beats the heck out of a regular old pump up floor jack. It's pretty awesome. It'll lift a lot. If I was smart, I would have put this up on the hoist. Not that bright, obviously. Hey, but look, there's a starter. Now we can see if we're getting power to that bugger. What are you doing? Are you coming to help? Okay, back up, watch out. 9 3/4 volts. So that battery's not the greatest, but at least we know that it's getting power to the starter, and the starter's not doing anything, so. 9 3/4 volts, which the battery's, it's the one that came in the four-wheeler. I put it on the charger and tried to get it to come to life, and it's doing all right. It's not perfect, but you know, I mean, this whole thing, I mean, it matches, it's fine. Let's go ahead, pull this recoil cover off, and get the mounting bolts, see if we can snake this starter out through the bottom. It's a really strange design. Yeah. All right, let's get after it. Yeah, them brake pads are shot. Shot. All right, back to the starter. All right. Wow. That's had a little water inside of it at one point in its life. Huh. Okay, well, there's the end of the Bendix on the starter gear. We got to pull that bolt, and I think one up underneath. The starter should snake right out the bottom-ish, maybe? I don't know. Let's find out. So after looking at this thing a little closer up underneath, there's one bolt that you can't get to that helps retain the starter on the back side. And everything that I can see, the only way to get to it is by removing the clutch and this back housing, basically this part of this clutch cover on the back side. And to get that off, you have to remove the primary clutch and the secondary clutch. I mean, talk about a deal, but you know, this is a good chance to inspect the drive clutch, the primary clutch, the secondary clutch, and obviously the belts. So that's what we're gonna do. So what I have is this Dayuan. I don't know how you say it, but anyways, this is basically a generic clutch and hub puller that I got off of Amazon. I don't know how long ago, forever ago, and there happens to be one puller in there that I think will actually work on this clutch. It's a 1815, so it feels like it threads in there pretty good, but the thing I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to stick something down in there to basically push against the end of the crank from here. So I think I can stuff like an old socket down in there, see if I can push this thing off. Let's see if it'll work. Ta-da! Seems silly just to change a starter bolt that's literally right there. Okie dokie. She's pretty crispy. Definitely got a pretty good hourglass shape to it. Probably never been changed. I'll be darned. Okay. Come off of there, you little bugger. All for that right there. That one stupid single little bolt. For that guy. Right there. There you go. Oh man, sometimes I wonder what engineers are thinking. I really feel like in order to be an engineer and design anything mechanical, ATVs, cars especially, you actually need to work in the field for a minimum of 10 years repairing them. And things would be a lot different, I feel like. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think they would. That's just a silly design. Definitely overlooked. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's not like you ever change a starter motor on anything mechanical. Goodness. Starter I'm going to put on this thing. This is a, you know, Amazon special. I think this thing was like 40 bucks. Brand new. No reman. You know, whatever. And the cool thing I liked about this starter is it actually came with a brand new Bendix gear too. So, I mean, probably could have used the old one, but it looks like it's had a little moisture inside of it. So why not go the extra $5, I think it was, and get it with a brand new Bendix gear. So that's gonna go down inside like that, put the new gasket on, and we'll slide this old girl in and start assembling this onion, basically. Yeah. The old Explorers just make me want to explore finding a Japanese four-wheeler. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That was so much fun. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, that starter sounds great. That's way better than pulling on this thing to try to get it to start every time. Yeah, that was well worth the headache of changing that out and the $40 off of Amazon. So parts for this thing are relatively cheap. I'm quite surprised. Once you track them down on Amazon or somewhere, they're pretty inexpensive. So I don't know, maybe these old four-wheelers are worth just keeping around for a while. This thing's pretty awesome. I'm kind of starting to like these old things. You just need loves from me today? How come you need loves from me today? Huh? You're a pretty good dog. Yeah, you're a pretty good dog. Hey, do me a favor, go get your ball. Go find your ball. Go get your ball. Watch, you go find his ball. What are you doing? Everybody needs a couple shop dogs. They just make it more enjoyable to be out in the garage working on your stuff. So while I'm waiting for parts for the Polaris to get here, let's pull the Suzuki back in and see if we can't figure out what's wrong with this front differential and why it's not engaging. I'm gonna put money on a spider gear or something like that has just broken. Let's get her tore out. Let's get that cover off and see what the oil looks like coming out of that front differential. That should tell us a lot. Is it gonna be chunky, sparkly, or look like brand new? Actually doesn't look terrible. I mean, it's got a few little bit of chunks on the end of it, but man, not bad. Okay then. I've never wanted to take a Sawzall to a frame so much in my entire life. Holy cow. Talk about having to hold your tongue just right. Wow. So, you have to spin it, get the tail shaft towards you, tip it on its side, and then wiggle it, and it comes out. That's good information to know. Wish I would have known that an hour ago. Oh, let's throw this thing on the bench and see what we find inside, shall we? don't see any big chunks yet. I'd have thought for sure I'd have saw something that was awful chunky. Kind of like myself. No chunkeronius. So this is what I've came up with. So this spring right here goes down on top of this selector shaft, which engages four-wheel drive and the locker. Now, this spring, when I pulled it out, was about yay long. It was almost like it was collapsed. So I stretched this thing back out, put it back in, and I think is what was happening is this wasn't putting enough tension on the shift drum to raise and lower the shift fork to engage the four-wheel drive and the locker. With that spring lengthened back out, I think that should hold the shift drum in place, and which will in turn make the fork come up and down as the shift drum spins. So if this doesn't work, but it's better, I can always pull this cover off, replace that spring later on, and should fix it. But I'm pretty sure that was a problem. So we gave her a little dink dink, lengthen it out. Still got pretty good spring. We'll give it a shot. Last night I went ahead and I slapped the old front differential in the front of this King Quad, and while I was there I went ahead and I threw the actual CV shafts that came out of it back in it, because I've got to have this thing out of my way by the end of the day, and the new ones that I've ordered won't be here probably until about midweek next week. So I have the upper control arms out of this machine. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to do next. So the previous owner, he actually did kind of a homemade lift kit. So the original hole was about right there. If you look down inside, you can see the original hole there. He lengthened some plate and welded to the existing mount, which in turn lowered the upper control arm down from away from the shock and gave it probably, I don't know, 1.5 inch lift kit right around there. I personally think that this being at such an abrupt angle is killing the CV shafts and tie rod ends and basically all the steering and drivetrain components. And the other reason is anytime you put more pressure on something like this, you're going to mess up the geometry of the ride and all that stuff. Now, I think the reason he did this is because at one point he had a snowplow on the front of it, and when he would raise the snowplow up, it would just bam, it would just slap the front end down and just bottom the front end out. So he just needed just a little bit more, travel or height out of the machine while he had the snowplow on. Not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just for what I'm going to use this machine for, I don't really want this lift kit on there. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut the top of these ears off right here. And then I'm going to drill the hole back where the factory hole once was, and then we'll get the front control arms reinstalled and go for a test drive, see how it does. Much better. Get these babies put on, and then we'll do the same thing to the back upper control arms. Get this baby squatted back down to reality, Yeah, let's get them put on. Man, I'm starting to wonder what the heck I'm doing with these stupid old four-wheelers. Made one pass down the camera, past the camera, and turned around. Old Suzuki, she just died on me. Yeah, it's nice. All right, let's try this again. turns out whatever I did to the front end of this thing, it fixed it. So only thing I can figure for sure was that tension spring that hold that barrel, basically the shift mechanism, was just not tensioned enough, and it was letting it slide and letting that shift fork walk. So I'm pretty happy about that. This thing runs like a top, other than when it just randomly died on me. That was really strange. I don't know why I did that, because it fired right up. But anyhow, the next time you guys see these two four-wheelers, we'll be out doing a shootout with both of them. I think it's going to be kind of fun. Basically, from what I've gathered in the comments on the last couple videos and what I've kind of researched a little bit on the interweb, these are the two most hated four-wheelers of that era, just because they're so weird and they're kind of a pain in the butt to work on. It's going to be fun to see which one comes out on top. I think I know which one's going to win, but I don't know. Which one do you guys think is going to win in this shootout? So that being said, as always, thanks every single one of you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next go around.